could have absolutely been super offended when he came in our room after who knows how long he would spend in there with Danny. These moments where we reclaim that power to make a spark and send it to our spouse will not only impact the moments we have with them, but over time will add up to a deeper, more intentional connection without even trying. I'm Nicole Alkia Maggio, your host of Dig Deep, Reach High, the podcast. In this space, everyone is invited to pull up a seat at my table where we get into honest, refreshing, and eye-opening conversations about health and wellness, relationships, and biblical living. Together, we explore with curiosity on what it takes for growth while giving the grace for the journey to get there. Even as a kid in Minnesota, I've always had big city dreams. I've transformed myself from an unaware, overwhelmed single woman into a confident, healthy wife and mom. And now I'm here to share my journey and victories and help you with yours. So come along with me as I teach you the tried and true secrets to building a life that you can truly enjoy living. This isn't just informational, it's empowering. Every week we tackle real life obstacles and host honest discussions on what works and what doesn't. Grab a cup of coffee, pull up a seat, and be ready to feel encouraged, spark curiosity, and leave empowered as we fearlessly grow through life together. This is Dig Deep, Reach High, the podcast. Have you ever looked at your spouse and honestly thought, I feel so alone and disconnected from them? Maybe you wonder, do they really care about my needs anymore? I just miss them so much. How can I reconnect that spark between us? Today, we're going to explore how getting curious about your spouse can rekindle that connection, especially when it feels like the so-called joys of parenthood are slowly pulling you apart and life's demands can easily have you floating in space on separate worlds. Imagine amidst a whirlwind of diaper changes, school runs, endless to-do lists, you just suddenly realize that relationship that once felt so cozy, like a retreat on a quiet beach every time you were together, is now just buried under the weight of everyday chaos, and you feel so far away from them. But what if I told you that by simply shifting your perspective, you can uncover the hidden treasures of your spouse's actions and rediscover the deep love that brought you together in the first place while kindling a new spark for move forward? Today, we're diving into an important topic for all of us, navigating parenthood and marriage and maintaining a quality sparked connection with your spouse. So stick around. We're set to explore together practical strategies and discuss heartfelt stories that will leave you feeling empowered to see your partner through the lens of love, interest, and genuine curiosity that might spark more fire than you even thought it would. Imagine surprising the one you love with a gift that says you are cherished. At Dayspring, you'll find everything you need, from a cozy sweater, a charming mug and book set, to puzzles or even delicate jewelry. It speaks of love and inspiration every single day. Each carefully crafted piece is more than just a gift. It's a reminder of hope and the warmth of a true caring heart for the person that you're giving it to. And when you shop with my affiliate link below or in the show notes, you're not only giving a beautiful gift, but you're also supporting the work behind this podcast. Visit dayspring.com through my link below and remind someone they are loved. Dayspring, inspiring your everyday. Before we dive deep into this very important topic on curiosity and connection, here is a very fun fact. Did you know that when you're married with kids, your home becomes an adventure park of treasure hunts, unexpected surprises, and yes, even an unending sea of dishes? 1 minute you're dodging a monster chasing you down the hall, which is really like a tiny tot just on a mission. And the next, you're navigating the complexities of who's handling bedtime and the ever-important lunchbox debate. No matter how many years you've been together, kids can turn the simplest moments into great challenges. And these moments turn into big opportunities for growth in your spousal relationship. Let me share a story with you. Imagine the greatest gravitational pull you've ever experienced. Nope, not in space, but right in your family. That moment finally came that you've been waiting for when you received not just one, but 2 new kids in just 2 months' time. Back-to-back zingers, if you will. And yes, this is a true story. It happened to me and my husband, and I could never have predicted how this double dose of parenthood could reshape our marriage and connection, sending us on a roller coaster of emotions, routines, rediscovery, both as a parental team, but as individuals as well. So buckle up, because this episode is packed with adventure, a few tears, lots of love, and real strategies for reconnecting with your spouse, even when the world seems to be determined to pull you apart. When you have your first child, you are bombarded with advice, YouTube tutorials, endless how-to videos, friends, family, and once that family unit starts to grow, those extra educational scavenger hunts often take a back seat. We learn, we adjust, and before we know it, we start to assume that we know every little detail about our kids and the person that's really the other half of this parenting team. From knowing how they take their coffee in the morning to what they do for bedtime routines. And that's when the magic of curiosity really starts to fade. Without that spark of curiosity, our interactions become very routine, almost mechanical. We risk turning into experts on our spouse's habits rather than explorers of their inner world. The dreams, motivations, the feelings that make them who they are. And when that happens, the connection we once cherished can start to slip away from us, leaving us feeling isolated, even in a house full of love and laughter and good times. So how do we stay connected? How do we ensure that even amidst the chaos of parenting, we're continually getting to know the person we fell in love with? Today, we're going to unpack that process, and trust me, whether you're juggling a newborn, a curious preschooler, a moody teenager, or maybe no kids at all, I have some simple yet clever strategies that can really be applied right into your home and keep that spark of your love relationship alive. To help set the scene, let me just say, I understand. I understand it wasn't your intention to pull away from your spouse. There's no judgment here on how your relationship has gotten you where it is now. But we are going to go through real truths that will force us to look at the reality that we're creating in this relationship that we call love. I'll be honest, I've had my doubts. I've had somber moments between me and my husband, and the hardest, most difficult time for us was really in April of 2024. So my stepson, Danny, who hadn't seen my husband in person for over 10 years, received his student visa and arrived here in America to build his life and future with his father and us girls. And just 2 months later in June, our second baby girl, Chloe, was born. Now, because of our unique family dynamic, I jokingly refer to having 2.5 kids, my 2 daughters born to me and my 16-year-old stepson. And not only do we have a very wide gap of mental development, questions, stages of life, and conversations all happening in one house at one table, but in this whirlwind of a year, my husband and I experienced a monumental family shift. I mean, imagine what it was like for us. One moment, this little family of 3 was just our entire world. And then suddenly we were thrust like kapow into a dynamic of 5. The excitement was undeniable, especially for my eldest daughter, Eliana, who embraced the change with such pride and joy as she was receiving a brother and a sister in the same year. She was so proud to explain to everyone as she would say, "We used to be a family of 3, but now we're 5, and holding that big palm up with all 5 fingers stretched as far as she could pull them. And of course, telling anyone and everyone who would listen, from friends that came to visit to someone walking through the grocery store, if you were in her vision, she was telling you about her family story with pride. But for my husband and me, the adjustments were far more challenging and not always the thing we wanted to share with the world. When Danny arrived at the airport, the mix of emotions were overwhelming. I mean, my husband's face told 1,000 stories, a blend of joy, nervousness, real love, and I still remember that look in his eyes when he embraced Danny for the first time after 10 long years apart. It was as if I was falling in love with him all over again. That pure love just oozing from their connection was tangible, and it reminded me how much is truly buried in my husband's heart of love and connection for our family. The next morning at breakfast, just the four of us, since Chloe wasn't born yet, sat down and talked like we always dreamed of doing with all of our kids together. It was a moment of genuine connection, reunion, and family. And having Danny a part of that for the first time was a beautiful dream for our family to hold. This feeling actually reminded me of when I was dating my husband. We would go through conversations about their home country in Ecuador, and it was like rediscovering a deeper side of him that I knew about, but I didn't fully understand. And it was so amazing to experience this simply at the breakfast table. But here's the real kicker. Going from parenting a preschooler to a teenager and then soon a newborn almost immediately after that is like floating in space and being pulled by three very large gravitational fields in three very different directions, and with each in its own new world of questions, issues, and more. Conversations with Danny were cool, as we could talk like adults and have real conversations like college, memories, and getting to know him as a person. But then a sudden shift in the atmosphere as world number 2 would start closing in. Eliana would try to engage in the conversation with anything and everything she could come up with. In her sweet little creative 3-year-old mind, anything was possible to talk about. Once Chloe was born too, an entire new world was added, giving another intense gravitational pull against us as a soft newborn cry would cut through anything and everything we were doing. My husband and I had moments where we felt completely overwhelmed in building our new routines, navigating our spacesuits to fly to that world and this world, whichever world really needed us most, while still staying connected for air to feel normal and truly like ourselves. We often found ourselves feeling very alone, distant, and questioning if we were still truly seen by the other person, the one that we had once cherished above all else. It was a disaster. During these times, we discovered that the roots of our struggles weren't just in the hectic chaos of these three colliding worlds with ours. It wasn't even the new schedule of routines, the stress of managing higher finances, or cultural adjustments. The root of everything that made it hard to stay connected and feeling that sense of unison, even when apart, was in our minds. Our thoughts, our personal picture or frame that we put around each other's actions was starting to erode the connection and true understanding that we once had so naturally when we, as the parents, were the majority in the home. But once we became outnumbered, life really shifted to a much more complicated and stressful place. So let's take a little pause here, like hold the phone and get a bit analytical for a moment. Research consistently shows that stress has many impacts on not just our health, but on many other areas of our life. Not only does stress cloud our judgment, but it also affects our decision-making abilities, our mood, and even the feelings of energy we have to invest in our relationships and our life. In our home, at that moment in time, stress was a constant companion for me and my husband. There were financial worries, the logistical challenges of hosting 3 kids, still getting to know each other, especially during the summer, while juggling full-time jobs and adding another layer of truly trying to help Danny adapt to a new culture and language completely different from his life back in Ecuador. Immersion training is powerful, but still requires assistance to grow well in his all-new American boy lifestyle, and we had to support him to be an active part of what he was really learning to be a part of. Now think about it. When your brain is overloaded with stress, even the smallest issues can seem monumental. It's no wonder that in these moments we might misinterpret a kind gesture or a simple act of support from our spouse as something else entirely. Instead of seeing love and care, our minds clouded by stress could absolutely frame these moments as reminders of our own shortcomings or failures as a parent or as a partner. And this is where our mindset plays the most significant role in that spark. When we let stress dictate our perspective and our perception of each other, we inadvertently create barriers. We start to see our partner's actions through a filter of judgment rather than a filter of understanding and compassion. But what if we could flip that script? What if we could consciously choose to view our spouse's actions with curiosity and love rather than suspicion or criticism? So here's a powerful thought. Most of the time, the disconnection we feel isn't because our spouse is doing something wrong. It's because of the way we're interpreting what our spouse is doing. Their intentions, their actions, their choices. Sometimes our minds put this wrong frame around our spouse's actions, choices, decisions, perhaps as a coping mechanism for our own stress. The key is to really get curious rather than be judgmental. Ask yourself what's really going on with them. What might they be feeling or thinking that I'm just not seeing? The shift in perspective from judgment to curiosity is transformative for any relationship, parent or otherwise. In shifting our intention of thought around our spouse's actions, choices, and even their attitude at times gives an opening for grace, compassion, and love to be re-sparked in an area where it can usually be very cold and sometimes even just downright mean. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not about ignoring challenges or issues that come up or even looking at your spouse through rose-colored glasses of constant perfection. It's about embracing a mindset of genuine interest in the person you married. Instead of assuming you know every detail of their inner life, dare to explore it again. Ask questions, engage in meaningful conversations, and most importantly, listen. Listen with the intent to learn something more, something deeper from who they are, their past, their personality, their character, or what truly made them who they are today. When you actively put an intention to be curious and know them more, you're not just reframing a moment, you're rebuilding the bridge of connection between you and the one you truly love. I've personally learned that even small moments can have a big impact on building that bridge that both partners can cross with ease. I mean, every relationship isn't just a one-way street, right? And the way your spouse engages with you opens new pathways for you to engage with them. For instance, when you pass them in the kitchen and you give them a hug or a quick love poke, do you think that sparks something for them or it just ends dead in the water? Now, my husband and I are very physical people, meaning that when I have a bad day, I need a hug. Or when we have great feelings of love for each other, we want to go out dancing and have fun and be in each other's arms a lot. And it's nothing sexual. I mean, sometimes it can be, but ultimately our connection is a lot through touch. Whether he starts it or I do, there's just a spark that bounces from one person to the other. And sometimes we can forget how impactful those little touches really can be. Even if you don't see a physical reaction from someone, you never know how deep that little spark went to brighten their day or refresh their spirit or even reconnect them to you. So if you see your spouse doing something totally normal, something simple like preparing a meal or doing household chores, pause for a minute and think about your thoughts, your intentions about them. Are you thinking about the love that they're pouring into their work and taking care of the family, the house, and you? Are you thinking something judgmental at their choice of the meal or the way they look with messy hair or something else that just isn't really kind? Think about them. I mean, really get curious on their efforts behind the actions that they do day to day. How much energy are they really spending to maintain or build the life that you both so easily call home or family? Whether it's a little or a lot, every effort toward building, growing, and maintaining a good life together is worth a little appreciation. And an expert tip for those that maybe don't have the most amazing spouse, maybe you really do find it hard to see anything that they're doing for the family or for you, remember that words of love, encouragement, and appreciation have more power than 1,000 arguments. Start appreciating and acknowledging the things that they're doing to support the loving, joyful home that you dreamed of. No matter how small, any moment or action can be appreciated in showing love and respect for that someone that you publicly and oh so lovingly said, "I do" to. Now, I'll be honest, it might feel awkward at first, but those genuine moments of curiosity and appreciation can reignite the spark you thought was completely lost and buried under a heap of shoulda, coulda, wouldas. If we can connect curiosity to the actions and choices of our spouse, just like we did when we were first getting to know them, we can see a rebirth of many feelings and moments that can bring new and deeper levels of love and connection than ever before. Now, I'll tell you, my husband and I had to go through a lot of pain together that first year with the 2 new kids in the house, but My husband taking lead over our son Danny, giving him a deep appreciation and awareness of what it really means to be an active, vibrant parent. And I had to learn to really step back and let him be the lead parent, which, let me tell you, is not easy. I'm usually in charge of the kids, the kid routine, and everything in between, and I had to let that all go and allow him to be the mom manager and help this unique, dismembered group turn into a real family. We both had to extend grace, apologize, forgive each other for our shortcomings while still encouraging each other in the strengths of running this show. From art and craft days to college level homework, cleaning bottles for the baby, everything in between, we were forced to be curious about each other in our intentions, our parenting styles, which, yes, are very different, and even our feelings of love and what we need to feel together, to feel connected, and to really feel loved. Now we have a much deeper connection than I could honestly say we've ever had, based on so much trust and unity and compassion, and that so-called spark is literally only a touch away. So how can you take all that we've talked about and really apply it to your own relationship to feel connected, refresh that spark between you and your spouse? Well, let me break it down. There's 3 easy steps that in any moment or situation can really help you get a better perspective over your spouse. We assess, we rewire, and we prepare. Now, to assess, we need to mentally review a situation, any situation at all, where really you were impacted by your spouse in feeling that distance or lack of connection that you desperately want to mend. We have to look into the situation with curiosity, not judgment, fresh perspectives, and find the real truth behind these moments. Then we're going to rewire our feelings or our thoughts in that moment so we can correct our experience, which then opens the door for us to prepare. And we prepare in making a better quality choice toward our spouse, hopefully building that bridge of communication, connection, and love to set off that spark. To be honest, there are 5 powerful angles of perspective that you can take about any situation and really think about things differently. These perspectives set you up to assess, rewire, and prepare you to move forward in your relationship from a place of curiosity, love, and real empowerment over the future outcomes of your relationship. You practice self-control and give yourself a chance to be heard and seen by your spouse in a very deep and impactful way. These powerful angles of perspective are to be empathetic, factual, communicative, contextual, or behavioral. I'll give you one example from my own life and go through each of the 5 angles of perspective to explain what I mean of how it works in really supporting the building of that bridge and rekindling that spark in us first and then send it flying to our spouse as well. The example is that one night when Danny first arrived, I totally remember sitting in my bed waiting for my husband to come in and talk with me as we always did before. Chatting in bed before we sleep has been our routine really since we were married, and it always helped us to check in, reconnect, and was a very relaxing moment for me, especially before I would go to sleep. However, one of these nights, he didn't come in like he used to. He went to Danny's room instead. He jumped on the bed and started talking with him, joking, checking in on him, just like he would usually check in with me. Now, I could hear almost everything since his room was right next to ours. The thing was that for a moment, it actually really bothered me. I was so looking forward to that time alone with my husband to reconnect, and I could say I had grown so accustomed, I was almost expecting it to happen. Plus, with all the pull away from each other we'd been feeling at that time, I thought he might rush to the bed to chat with me just as much as I was sitting in expectation for him. Now, was this a moment of selfishness? Yes. Yes, absolutely, 100% it was. But, as I said, I will be honest about my situations. I'm human. I've had my moments to learn from too, and I have no problem opening up my past if it helps someone else not make the same mistakes I did. So, in this moment of frustration, possible irritation, or loneliness, I had a choice on how I was going to assess what was actually happening with my husband and me, wire what I was going to be thinking about or meditating on or feeling, and then choose how I was going to prepare to take the next step forward with what I was going to do next. So let's get curious. Take a step back. Let's start looking at this moment through these 5 powerful angles of perspective and see what is the true potential that can come out of this moment. Starting with the empathetic. Empathetic means showing an ability to understand and share the feelings of another. So in that moment, I could think about my husband's feelings and be curious at what it must feel like to finally have Danny face to face after all these 10 years apart. This would soften my hurt feelings and put me in a mental place of compassion for them both to be together, allowing me to extend grace to my husband, calm my feelings and possible loneliness, while also increasing the emotions of joy at the union that they finally have. Now, what if we look at this from a factual perspective? Now, factual means that something that is known or proven. So I could ask myself, what do I really know about this situation? Do I know that my husband is excited to talk with Danny more than me? No, I don't. Could there be an alternative explanation that could also make sense as to why it was more important for him to take the time with Danny than with me? Maybe something happened with Danny at school or a culture shock situation and he really needed his dad's advice. Again, this is softening my experience of the moment and my impression of what's happening so I can make a better choice to move forward. Let's try a communicative perspective. Communicative means we are ready to talk or impart information. So sitting on that bed, listening to them talk, I could think, did I really even make it clear to my husband how I was looking forward to that time with him? Or that it meant a lot to me to have that time with him in general, just to reconnect and feeling that refreshment for my own self? How could I have better communicated my feelings before this moment to get a better outcome of tonight? Or what can I say now when he walks in to best express my desire for him? You kind of see how this is working? But let's not stop the roll of thought. Let's dig a little deeper, looking at contextual. Contextual means that it has a dependency on or is related to the circumstances that form the environment for an event, a statement, or an idea. So basically, something is depending on or related to the circumstances of this moment. So let's look at my husband's choice in context. Maybe I'm missing something important that happened before this moment. Maybe it's something Danny didn't feel comfortable sharing with me yet. Am I really looking at the big picture and the love that my husband is pouring into the health of our family? Or am I just zooming in too close and wanting just for his love to be poured into me? And lastly, my all-time favorite and the real truth bringer to the intentions of your own heart is behavioral. The behavioral means the way in which one acts or conducts oneself, especially toward others. So in this, asking myself, are my feelings and thoughts toward my spouse being supportive or destructive in this moment of who he really is? Have I been conducting myself earlier with an open and communicative behavior that maybe would signal him to have a deeper conversation with me here in the bedroom? Do you see how just taking a minute or a few seconds even to think about true perspectives that we're holding over our spouse can make the biggest difference in the world in how we feel in the moment, and also help us to calm down to make a better, more loving choice towards them, no matter what they're doing? I could have absolutely been super offended when he came in our room after who knows how long he would spend in there with Danny. I could have sat with my arms crossed, frown on my face, and just frustrated. And who knows how many mean thoughts could have spiraled in my mind the more I sat there waiting for him. But I knew better, and I actually chose the empathetic response, as I really was so happy for him to finally have his son in the house, to be truly sharing life together in the flesh after all this time. When he came into our room that night, I remember his face. It was so filled with pure joy, and I couldn't even imagine how quickly that joy would have been stripped from his heart if he had walked in seeing me sitting there, fuming with frustration at his choice to chat with Danny over me. It is possible to spark love and the feelings of reconnection to our spouse without our spouse even being a part of that journey. We have the power to build that bridge of connection just as much as they do. If you're waiting for them to reach out but never take the time to lay a plank or two in the right direction toward them, how can you honestly say you're being a supportive player in your own relationship? When we can assess the moment, rewire our thoughts and feelings, and then prepare to make a better choice toward loving our spouse, we can spark amazing moments that can be remembered by both of us as an experience of love, maybe even deeper than we ever expected would happen. For me, I was able to share that moment of joy with my husband, accept him in our bed with loving kindness, and was able to still get that feeling of refreshment that I was looking for before bed, just by sharing this moment of love that was pouring through his face. So my challenge for you today is to watch for these opportunities to see your spouse in a new light. Assess the moment, rewire yourself in your feelings, in your thoughts, and prepare to take action toward your spouse with love and compassion more than you ever had in the past. And most important, practice, practice, practice. Using the 5 powerful angles of perspective regularly is a skill. It has to be built within you. Eventually, you won't have to think about it as much, or really think about it at all. The more you use these perspectives, the more you'll build a strong, wired connection from your brain and your heart to having better outcomes of compassion and love naturally. But until that day comes, we have to intentionally practice. Even if you take a moment that happened yesterday or last week, sit on it, assess it, rewire your thoughts and feelings that were there, and visualize how you could have acted better in love toward your spouse at the end. What moment of possible spark did you miss by your triggered feelings of stress, loneliness, or even self-doubt in who you are as a spouse or a parent? Come up with an action, a simple action that you can take to reclaim that spark that you missed, all by being curious as to what could have really happened if you had assessed, rewired, and prepared better in the moment. These moments where we reclaim that power to make a spark and send it to our spouse will not only impact the moments we have with them, but over time will add up to a deeper, more intentional connection without even trying. And if you can be so bold, I would encourage you to have conversations with your spouse of how you feel, what you've thought about them in the past, maybe good or bad, and what you're thinking on to better yourself as a spouse for them. I can't tell you how many times my husband and I have sat down and discussed our flaws, as we call them. It's that sin nature in us that pushes us to think poorly about each other, defend ourselves, or feels threatened when we don't really need to. Even just dropping those horrible thoughts around a choice or a situation, just like the one I had sitting in the bedroom waiting for him. The flaws in our humanity aren't things we ignore. They're things we have to take more intentional control over. And talking things through without judgment, but with true curiosity of how much more of a deep and loving relationship we can bring to the table of our life with our spouse. Those moments of vulnerability and true connection to be together are powerful and honestly keeps your spouse in the loop with what you value in your relationship. Again, opening that bridge of impact and reminding yourself that what you do might have a greater impression on your spouse for change and rekindling the spark in them, which is why we work intentionally when it comes to people, even ourselves. So take the 5 powerful angles of perspective and assess, rewire, and prepare to be better, to love better, to make more sparks more consistently in your relationship, build that bridge of connection, and reconnect over and over and over again. I built a handout for you that lays out the 5 powerful angles of perspective to really help you in your journey of getting that natural flow of assessing, rewiring, and preparing for better sparks in your love life. This resource is totally free and breaks down each angle even a little bit more than I did here, just to help you remember what we talked about and give you a start in building better relationships. You can download it at our website at digdeepreachhigh.com, right in our resource shop, or the link is listed below and as always in our show notes. I encourage you to print it out, meditate on it, truly use it, especially starting with moments from your past. And then when you're ready, practice in real time and actually take in the moment the time to assess, rewire, and prepare. I know a life with kids is hard. It really, really is. There's no way around that. They pull on us, they drain us, they stress us out, but we love them and we love our spouse too, which is why we have to remember, kids aren't the problem our relationships feel flat. It's not even our spouse's fault. Often it's the way we're handling our love life, our thoughts, our feelings, our perspectives about our spouse that creates either a gap or a bridge between us. We are the common denominator in our relationships, and we have full control over how we perceive and respond to these moments, feelings, and thoughts. By intentionally being curious, we can reclaim that spark and build a foundation of empathy and love that carries us through the ups and downs of life. No matter if new kids come in the picture, financial stress or worries come around, or even if things are totally stable and going really well, we have the power to build new things in our relationships, and using these 5 powerful angles of perspective to help you build that better, deeper, stronger connection with your spouse than you ever dreamed of. As we wrap up today's episode, I want you to take a moment to really reflect on the actions of your spouse. Instead of seeing them through the eyes of personal expertise, thinking you know everything about them, or even through the eyes of judgment against their choices, look at them through the eyes of curiosity and love. Think how every action or choice is trying to support the life you both wanted together when you got married. Rediscovering your spark for your spouse isn't about recreating your past. It's really about actively choosing to be curious, kind, and intentional in the present moments that you both share together now. It's nice to reminisce about first dates and special moments, but what was natural when we were dating has to be intentional when we're married, to allow that love that started all those years ago to keep growing and deepening with every passing year into a love that people talk about the rest of their life. Work toward that balance between being partners in parenthood and true lovers that support, uplift, and encourage each other to be the best versions of yourselves that you can be. Never stop learning about each other, as people truly are so very complex, and we can only scratch the surface of who they are and hope to peel back layer by layer to see what really makes them that beautiful soul that we fell in love with. The journey of marriage is an ever-evolving adventure. Whether that little chocolate-covered monster is chasing you around the kitchen or not, embrace the life and the relationships you have built for your own world with open hearts, and never stop exploring the depths of your partner's inner makings of who they truly are. Thank you for joining me on Dig Deep, Reach High today. I really hope you walk away from this with a renewed sense of curiosity, of what untapped possibilities of spark are just hiding right in front of your nose. Reconnect yourself to the commitment that you have with the person you love most, and keep questioning, keep loving, and keep those connections strong. Don't miss the next episode of Dig Deep, Reach High, where we explore the legacy of Noah. In a world that was falling apart, we get to explore how every choice we make has the power to change our world for the better. Together, we'll discover a new vision of the impact that we can make, no matter how ugly the world may seem. Until next time, stay curious, dig deep, and reach high. Imagine starting your day with a smile, thanks to a special message just for you right on your own coffee mug. It brings joy to your heart and fills your mind with sweet reminders of your favorite person and simply that they cherish you. That's what it feels like when you receive a gift from Dayspring. Dayspring has the sweetest gifts to show love, whether it's a cozy sweater, a beautiful piece of jewelry, but to be honest, my favorite are those encouraging and uplifting mugs. Whether it's a big sunshine wishing me to stay sunny, or an encouraging reminder that all things are possible. These coffee mugs are the most perfect gift to remind the one you love with every sip that they're cared for too. And when you shop using my affiliate link below or in the show notes, you're gifting love to me and supporting this podcast too. So thank you. Click the link below, shop around, and spread a little joy today. Dayspring, inspiring every day.